Hello, everyone. So, today we are here to talk about mental health and we'll start with the topic of grief and how to cope with it. We have Ms. Pragati Sureka with us, and without much ado, I'll hand it over to her.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here with you. Now, whenever we are faced with a loss, we always have two alternatives. One is you can wallow in despair about the loss, and wish that whatever has happened had never happened. Usually, when we lose a loved one, it's very, very difficult. And we feel that, okay, let me just distract myself and not think about it. But here, the key to getting over any kind of loss is adapting and moving forward. And grief is the way we move forward.
Thanks, Pragati. So, we have a few questions from the audience. So, first question is, how do we cope with the feeling of grief ourselves, and how do we come over that feeling of irreparable loss when we are in that particular situation?
Firstly, what we need to do is, you know, acknowledge that this has happened. A lot of times when we are faced with any kind of loss, we deny it. No, this couldn't be happening to me. It's not so bad. So that denial is something which we have to acknowledge. This has happened. And now, when we start accepting the reality of a situation, we can move ahead. Now, I'm not saying you have failed in an exam, but most of us are usually very familiar with some kind of failure, whether it was some exam where you wanted the first position, or whether you wanted to get a job interview or get into your favorite college. You will see, if you don't get it, you have a deep sense of loss. And most of the time, we naturally grieve for what we have lost by distracting ourselves, or we go into that mode. Okay, I didn't get into A, what are my BCD options? So that helps us adapt. But when we lose a loved one, what happens is we don't even want to acknowledge it. We feel that if we engage with grief, that overwhelming sense of sadness is going to swallow us. So it's better to distract ourselves, either pretend that it's not so bad, or not think about it, or just lose touch with reality, where you numb out. Even shock that we feel, we have to realize that's the body's natural cushioning. Now think of yourself. All kinds of cars these days have airbags. Why do they have it? So when there is a deep impact, it cushions you against any kind of tragedy from unfolding. So when you look at that numbing that happens right after a loss, we have to acknowledge that this is there so that we can absorb the shock of what has happened. Now, coming back to your question, what is it that we need to do to get over the loss? Firstly, what we have to do is use this very nice model called the TEAR model, TEAR. Like we say, in any ancient culture also we have, they say if you mourn the loss, that means you're going to go beyond it. So the first task for us is to accept the reality of loss. This has happened. I have to accept it. Now, whatever makes me accept that, sometimes it could mean that I have 1 hour aside to mourn, where I think of my loved ones. I am doing some kind of prayers, or I'm going to continue to speak about them, whoever is willing to listen. Or when I reflect on how is it that I want to carry on their legacy. Okay, my loved one like this, let's say, in these COVID times, especially the role models whom they looked up to. So at that time, the best way to accept the reality of loss is to see how you can carry on the legacy. The next way in which I can actually move ahead with the task of grieving is I have to face it. I have to experience the loss. Sweeping any feelings under the rug will not make them go away. A lot of times what happens is what is not spoken about. While sadness is spoken about, there's a lot of guilt wanted. Maybe you had an angry fight or a retort that you wish that you had not said. So to experience the loss, you have to vent out in a safe space, ideally with a therapist or a trusted friend or mentor who has the maturity to listen to you and help you out without judging you, where they understand that it's just, like a pus. If you see with any wound, when the pus drains out, we heal. So someone who can give you that non-judgmental space, if you talk to them, that definitely will help you move on. And all our thoughts are not always flattering. Sometimes we remember some harsh words that our loved one had used to us, so we need to go beyond that also. So when I do these things over time, what happens is I become very skilled at adjusting to a new life without the lost person, and I start reinvesting in a new reality. From now on, what is it that I need to do? So I hope that answers your question absolutely comprehensive and gives a way forward.
Thanks, Pragati. Yeah, I can actually relate with, my by default reaction to grief was living in denial, but actually how I came out of it was facing it, like you mentioned in the second point. So it was on point, I believe. So
Yes.
thank you for this. So the next question, if a friend or colleague is going through grief right now, how do we know that? What can we do to support and how do we approach them?
See, first of all, we have to realize that if somebody is going through grief, we have to watch out for certain signals. The signals could be, is the person absolutely losing interest in life in general? The person has gone completely in his or her shell, or the person is not eating at all, or the person is eating or drinking too much, perhaps using some drugs or some kind of self-sabotaging behavior which is not good for them. Or is their work function, is their work life balance suffering? Is it that they cannot do their work as well as they could? Are they irritable or they are fighting? So these are some of the things to watch out for. And then how do you converse with them? You can tell them, "Ki, look, I have noticed that there is some difference in you and I'm wondering how you are doing. I am there for you. Would you like me to would you like to talk about something? Would you like me to do something about you?" So sometimes, just being there rather than saying, "Oh, everyone feels like this," or rubbishing them, that never helps. Everybody grieves. Come on, don't think about it. So this kind of invalidating statement is never helpful when somebody is grieving. All you have to do is give that person a choice. Ki, how can I best support you right now? I am there for you. Would you like to talk? So that is what you need to do with a person who is grieving.
Thanks, Pragati. I can actually vouch for the fact that, just being there for someone when they need you is, almost half the work done. Then we can always figure out, what to say, how to approach. But, just being there for someone is, I guess, the most important thing that you can do for someone in that moment. So, yeah. So next question is like, if we don't know the finer details, how do we identify the first signs that someone is going through depression or anxiety and may need help? And what do we do if we are not trained on that part?
Uh, Actually, this is a very nice thing that you have asked me, because I always believe that preventive mental health care is equally important. And like, you see someone, if they've not brushed their teeth in the morning, that, look, you haven't brushed your teeth, please go ahead and brush your teeth to take care of your. Able to see if somebody needs help immediately or in a few weeks. One is, you have to watch out. If any of these symptoms go on for longer than 2 weeks, that listlessness. Right now, everyone is languishing, where they are tired and they don't know what's happening, their deadlines, their social isolation, or even if you are in a bubble space, like you are currently at ISB, where everybody is there, but yet you can't go out as comfortably as you could earlier on. So one thing that you have to see is this person unable to function at all? Most of us, in spite of challenges, are functioning. We put in the regular work, we laugh, we smile, we eat, we even crib about what's not going well. So is this person absolutely in his own limbo? Does this person not seem to care about anything at all anymore? No interest in work or sex or hobbies or any pleasurable activities. Has he been being very negative about life? Is the person very critical, very short tempered, or is always saying, "Ki, what do you all think, this will go away? This is never going to go away." That complete helplessness and hopelessness. Thirdly, is this person oversleeping? Is this person not getting out of bed at all? Or absolutely, has gone insomniac, where he's not sleeping at all? He's disorganized, he's forgetful, and he's just out of it. Like, when you look at that person, you know that this person is not himself. Or, another thing is fluctuating weight. Like in a week, 10 days, if somebody puts on too much weight or loses too much weight, then something is not right. That person is in a situation where you need to reach out to that person.
Right. And Pragati, like any comments on COVID? Because we are in midst of this pandemic right now, and a lot of people to face a lot of losses. So, any comments you have to make on this current situation?
One is, you have to understand that right now social isolation is impacting everybody. And for people who have gone through loss, now if you look at us, none of us is untouched by loss. If you've not had loss of a close family member, somebody in your neighborhood is no longer there, maybe a teacher whom you looked up to is no longer there, your friend has lost somebody close. So in COVID, what's really, really important is to keep your mind body integration intact. In fact, I was just attending a mind calming session by a very leading professor, and experientially he made everyone understand that what you need to do is just sit 10 minutes with yourself. That is a very, very powerful technique in COVID time, especially to anchor yourself in your own self. Because what's happening is the world as we knew it is no longer there. Now, if you look at the Spanish plague, which was there, or the world wars or anything, that stoicism saw people through, where people were dying, where we didn't know what was happening. So history is actually there to tell us that when we hold on to ourselves, we can face any challenges which come. So in COVID times, what each one of us needs to do is see what can be managed and what can't be managed. Unfortunately, a lot of things outside can't be managed. Why, what's happening, what the government is doing, when will the virus go away, when will the restrictions stop. But we definitely can manage our own mind. So simple deep breathing techniques for 10 minutes with yourself will reap tremendous benefits.
All right. And Pragati, apart from the loss of life, many people would have lost their jobs, and, simply the
Yes.
feeling of being confined into their homes in a remote place, maybe apart from away from their families. How do you cope with that?
See, how you cope with it again is, firstly, you have to acknowledge that this loss is something which is not comfortable to me. I have to acknowledge that this feels very horrible, like, because most of the time, what do? We tell ourselves, don't be anxious. That's like telling somebody that you shouldn't have two eyes. In these scenarios, someone who's lost a job will feel anxious. So at that point, the person has to realize that avoidance or not talking about it will just give temporary relief. So what the person needs to do is, again, get very task oriented. Okay, how have I got impacted? These are the cons of losing a job. Now, what are my possibilities of getting a new job? How will I manage my finances in this time? How is it that I can curb some expenses? How is it that I can introspect in myself? Is there some kind of training that I need to undergo to become better equipped so that this kind of a scenario doesn't come to me again? So, when we go into that problem solving decisive mode, our amygdala, what we say, that's the sense, that's the seat of our emotions, where we go into that panic mode. We either get completely frightened, or we want to fight the situation, or we freeze. We are like, we can't do anything. So what really helps is to use our prefrontal cortex. That is the area which is very balanced, which can get out of any situation. So even here, if there is loss of a job or even loss of a relationship, like a lot of young people, because of the long distance factor or anything, what you have to do is, okay, what can I do in this situation? This doesn't feel good, but what are my options? So that BCDEF option, if you go into that mode, it doesn't seem like such a big monster. It's like something that can be managed.
I mean, you really touched upon this topic of, a forward mindset, and, being structured in your approach, even when you're going through, tough times. So it was really helpful for me as well. So,
True.
I mean, so with this, like, I believe, like, last question is from a fellow ISB student. So in this age of constant FOMO stands for fear of missing out.
Yes.
How do we balance our education or work with personal life and stay mentally and emotionally healthy?
One is that what doesn't kill you makes me stronger. I would love for everybody to take that mantra on. So we have to understand that with daily psycho-spiritual practices, we start believing in a higher power. We never get more than what we can cope up with. So I need to do certain things to take care of my mental health, whether it's daily exercising, whether it's praying, whether it's relaxation technique or journaling. That really, really helps.
Thank you.